On February 2nd, Rafael, Assuncao, and Marlon Moraes will be having a rematch in Fortaleza, Brazil for UFC on ESPN Plus #2. They will be the main event on the card. It'll be a 5-round fight. Obviously, this is a rematch between the two. They had previously fought at UFC 212 on the undercard of the Jose Aldo versus Max Holloway fight. In this fight, Rafael Assuncao won by split decision. Two judges gave it to him. One judge gave it to Marlon Moraes. Just a couple of notes before I get into what happened during the previous fight. The odds on this fight right now are Marlon Moraes as a -217 favorite, with Rafael Assuncao coming back as a +190 underdog. What's notable about that is that when you look at the first fight, obviously with it being a split decision, it was a very close fight. But when you actually look at the stat breakdown, this was an extremely close fight. In the end, total strikes or total significant strikes, there's only a difference of 1 between the two of them. So Assuncao landed 43 significant strikes over the course of the 3 rounds. Moraes landed 44. If you go round by round, in round 1, Moraes outlanded Assuncao 14-13. In the next 2 rounds, it was 11-11 strikes, and then 19-19 in the third. So this is a fight that could have easily been scored a draw pretty much in all 3 rounds. It was that close. When I get into the video, I'll tell you why I think Assuncao ended up getting the decision. It was a couple really big moments that he had where Moraes didn't really have those huge moments. Moraes landed very clean on a handful of shots, but the effects didn't show quite as much as they did when Assuncao landed on him. So I'll actually get into that right now and then just talk more in general about some of the stuff that you should looking forward to in the next fight. So the 2 big shots that Rafael Assuncao had, one was at the end of the first round. Now, again, he was outstruck 14-13 in this round, but he landed these 2 huge shots at the end of the first round, and I think that these are what stole him the round. So big overhand. And then landed another right there. And I think that those 2 shots right there, even though he was mathematically outstruck, the fact that those shots look so jarring probably gave him the edge, especially with the recency bias the judges have to deal with. For him to land that in the last 10 seconds was probably a big reason why he got that first round. He also had a huge shot early on in the 3rd round that I think played a big role there as well. So that would be right about here. Where he stumbled Marlon Moraes. Now, the interesting thing about this matchup is that Assuncao is known for his jiu-jitsu, and you would figure that with a guy like Moraes, who's a very good striker, that for Assuncao to win, he's going to have to get the fight to the mat. There actually wasn't any really close takedown attempt from Assuncao in the fight. He really didn't attempt too many takedowns. I believe he only attempted 1 throughout the entire fight, if I'm not mistaken. Let's just pull up the numbers. Yep, 1 takedown attempt for Assuncao. Moraes actually had 2 takedown attempts, although one of them was kind of like a lazy knee pick. I don't know if he was just kind of doing that just to give Assuncao something to look at and just kind of be aware of in the stand-up, or if he actually was going for it. It didn't look like it was that serious, but he did have a very close attempt later on in the 3rd round. Let me see if we can get to that. Probably right about here. So it's actually going to be coming off of a kick.
Less than a minute now to go of this featured prelim. Oh, beautiful.
Looked pretty deep, but Assuncao ends up getting away. And I think at that point in the fight, too, if you look at the time, there's 50 seconds left in the round. So to me, I don't know that Moraes was ever in his game plan to actually take Assuncao down and control from the bottom. I think that's just one of those things where he knows there's about a minute left in the round. And if you can secure the takedown, you probably steal the round. Now, again, this was the same round where he got not necessarily dropped. He kind of posted off before he ended up falling, but he got hit hard behind the ear on that 1 overhand right. So for him, it would be important to try to steal back the round in that way. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to do so because Assuncao did a great job of defending that takedown. So those were the notable moments from the first fight. Outside of that, it was just a lot of close contested striking. The things that worked really well for Marlon Moraes, both came from the left side in the orthodox position. So he had a lot of success with the lead left hook, usually either using that to counter at the end of a combination, and then he also was having success with that lead left kick. Obviously, he had the huge one that he landed on Aljamain Sterling, where he knocked him out with a left lead head kick. But he's also been pretty effective to the body. He was very effective to the body against Assuncao. It's also worth noting that this was a 3-round fight that they previously fought. It's going to be 5 rounds on Saturday. And at the end of the fight, Assuncao appeared to be a little bit more tired than Moraes. Now, with that being said, if you know that you're going into a fight that's going to be 3 rounds, you're going to pace yourself differently than if it's a 5-round fight. So that's not to say that this upcoming fight that Assuncao is going to pace himself in the same way and that'll get tired after 3. And I mean, you never know. A guy might show that he's tired after 3 and still be able to put on a good fight for the next 2 rounds. So I don't know that I would put too much stock into that as far as predicting who I think is going to win the next fight. The two of them also went for a lot of leg kicks. If you actually look at the breakdown of the strikes and the strike locations, Assuncao, of his 43 strikes landed in the entire fight, 18 of them were to the leg, so that's a large percentage. And then for Moraes, 15 of them were to the leg. Moraes also landed 14 to the body and then 15 to the head. So Moraes, as far as where he landed, was very even. So 15 head, 14 body, 15 leg. The throwing was a little bit different. He threw 113 to the head, threw 20 to the body, and 17 to the leg. So a lot of misses to the head. But as far as what landed, it was very balanced. Then for Assuncao, same type of thing where he landed 18 to the leg, only 4 shots to the body out of 13 attempted, and then 21 to the head out of 95 attempted. So a higher output from Moraes, but both of them were missing more often than they were hitting. But in the end, they both landed a similar amount of strikes. So as far as predicting who I think is going to win this next fight, it's honestly it's so hard to really take anything from this last fight and then try to glean anything from the most recent fights. I think both of them have been improving in the time since then, so it's hard to say, oh, well, Moraes is going to get so much better than Assuncao. So even though it was even the first time, I think Moraes or I think Assuncao is going to do any better. So to me, what I'm looking at is, I think that Assuncao. The thing is that he landed overhand right, and that might have stolen him a couple rounds, but that was an effective strike for him throughout the fight, and I don't know that the overhand right isn't going to be there in this next fight either. Moraes probably will be a little bit better on the boxing side, but from what I've seen, I think this fight's going to be pretty similar again. I think it's possible that Moraes might, whereas in this fight all the rounds were extremely close, I think Moraes might have some clear rounds at the end. Maybe in round 5 it'll be a clear round for Moraes. But outside of that, this is going to be an extremely close fight again. I don't expect there to be much grappling, and I think it's going to be mostly striking. So if I had to take a pick, I'd probably have to edge with Moraes, but it's going to be very close. The only reason why I'd say I'd edge with Moraes is because I think I'm more confident in him winning a later round, and it's not that I can be confident in either of the two winning any round. So if you have someone who you're confident, so for example, if it was round 1, who do you think is going to win, Moraes or Assuncao? It's hard to pick either of them, obviously, based on the last fight. Round 2, who's going to win? Hard to pick either of them based on the last fight. Round 3, so on. But because Moraes seemed to be in better condition, I can at least be confident that he's probably going to win one of the late rounds. And with the two of these guys being so close, if you can be confident they're going to win one of the late rounds, then that gives them a pretty good edge if they can just kind of ease out or just steal one of the first 3 or 4 rounds. So if you're betting, it's a little bit different because of the odds. So what's interesting to me is that this fight is so close. This fight, if you look at the previous fight statistics and look at how it was a split decision, you would think this would be a pick-em fight, and it's not. So if you're thinking about it just from a betting standpoint, a lot of times when you look at these lines and you see plus 190 for Assuncao in a rematch of a fight that he won, first off, and a rematch of a fight that was incredibly even, you're thinking that's great value at plus 190. If you can take a bet like this at plus 190, say 10 times, you're going to make money more often than not. But in this specific case, I do feel like Moraes has a slight edge. So my advice would be is if you're betting, take Assuncao because this fight's close enough where you're going to get value in it more often than not. If you take a bet like this, you're going to do well. But with that being said, if I had to pick, I think Moraes probably edges this out 3 rounds to 2.